What happens when filmmakers decide rules just don't matter? French exploitation movies didn't break boundaries, they set them ablaze. These films sent censors into panic mode, left critics at a loss for words, and pushed audiences to their limits. Why did these movies cause such a stir, and what made them too hot for the establishment to handle? Get ready, because we're diving into 12 French films that rattled the system and made even the boldest viewers squirm. Les Raisins de la Mort, The Grapes of Death, 1917-8. Step into the French countryside, where you'd expect fresh grapes and sunshine, but instead, there's a stench of rot and terror that hangs thick in the air. Les Raisins de la Mort takes the quiet beauty of a vineyard and twists it into a chilling nightmare. Jean Rollin, a director known for his passion for Gothic horror, crafts a slow, creeping descent into madness, where a deadly pesticide does more than just destroy crops. It turns innocent villagers into horrifying monsters. Faces decay before your eyes, minds unravel, and friends suddenly become terrifying enemies in a world where trust no longer exists. The reaction from censors was swift and harsh. They were not just displeased, they were horrified. Early television broadcasts and home video releases were heavily edited, with entire scenes cut out to avoid shocking viewers too much. Meanwhile, the full uncut version of the film became a whispered legend among horror enthusiasts and collectors. These fans hunted down rare copies, swapping tales of brutal and grotesque scenes that mainstream audiences were never meant to see. But Les Raisins de la Mort is more than just gore and shock. It builds an unsettling atmosphere of dread. The film creates a feeling that nowhere is safe, and anyone can succumb to the madness lurking just beneath the surface. This film did more than frighten its audience. It changed the game for French horror cinema. Les Raisins de la Mort opened the door for darker, bloodier films, pushing boundaries that censors struggled to contain. Jean Rollin's blend of haunting, ethereal beauty, and relentless decay left an undeniable mark on the genre. Even decades later, the film remains a benchmark for controversy and fear in French cinema, proving that true horror isn't just about scares, it's about the atmosphere that lingers long after the screen goes dark. Les Valseuses, Going Places, 1917-4. Some movies tell stories, but others grab you by the collar and drag you straight through chaos. Les Valseuses is the latter, a wild, unruly ride with zero apologies and zero rules. Gérard Depardieu and Patrick Dewey play two aimless rebels tearing through life, leaving shock, outrage, and disbelief in their wake. Every scene dares you to ask, how much can you handle before you walk out? The French establishment was stunned. Censors demanded cuts, politicians voiced outrage, and critics debated endlessly about whether this was cinematic brilliance or reckless provocation. The impact was huge. Audiences either hated it or became obsessed fans. Its anarchic humor, fearless boundary pushing, and don't care attitude turned it into a cultural lightning rod. What makes Les Valseuses truly genius is its refusal to offer excuses or neat answers. It doesn't try to teach lessons or wrap things up nicely. Instead, it throws you headfirst into the messy, unpredictable chaos of real life, sometimes ugly, sometimes funny, always raw. For filmmakers tired of the old rules, it was a rallying cry, smashing expectations of what could be shown in French theaters. Decades later, Les Valseuses still sparks conversation and remains a badge of honor for anyone craving cinema with sharp edges and no safety nets. It's a wild ride that dared to redefine French film, and it's not slowing down anytime soon. Cannibal Terror, 1981. Now we're plunging into the jungle, but don't expect anything tame. Cannibal Terror is grindhouse chaos at its rawest, crafted by French producers determined to outdo Italy's most infamous cannibal films. What they delivered is a wild, relentless mess. Over-the-top gore, a barely-there plot, wooden acting, and bizarre dubbing. It's exactly this unpolished madness that transformed the movie into a cult legend among fans hungry for the outrageous and the extreme. Across Europe, censors were left stunned and horrified. In France, huge chunks were hacked out before theaters even had a chance to screen the film properly. Meanwhile, over in the UK, Cannibal Terror earned a spot on the notorious Video Nasties banned list, deemed far too shocking and disturbing for home viewing. But history shows censorship rarely kills a legend. It only makes it grow. Whispered rumors of lost footage circulated underground. Bootleg tapes were traded in secret, and fearless fans dared each other to watch the film without flinching or looking away. What really sets Cannibal Terror apart isn't any sense of quality, because, frankly, it has none. What bursts through every frame is a wild, unapologetic spirit, an unfiltered dedication to shock and chaos. The filmmakers weren't aiming to create a cinematic masterpiece. They wanted to make something impossible to ignore, and in that, they succeeded spectacularly. For horror fans, watching Cannibal Terror became a kind of rite of passage. Survive this relentless onslaught, and you prove you're ready for anything the genre dares to throw your way. It's not pretty, it's not polished, but it's unforgettable, and that's exactly why it still holds a special, notorious place in cult cinema today. Ilsa, the Wicked Warden, 1977. Step inside, if you dare. Ilsa, the Wicked Warden, practically invented the phrase, "too much for theaters." Imported and reshaped by French producers, this film drags you deep into the darkest corners of power, cruelty, and rebellion. From the very first frame, it's obvious this isn't just a story, it's an endurance test, pushing every boundary imaginable and daring viewers to keep watching. Censors across France and Europe moved quickly, slapping bans on screenings and rating theaters showing the film. Critics were stunned, shocked by just how far Ilsa was willing to go. But as with many controversial movies, the more outrage it caused, the more people wanted to see it. It quickly became a badge of honor for midnight movie fans, who swapped wild stories about the film's most extreme scenes and hunted down uncensored copies like precious forbidden treasures. What truly sets Ilsa apart is its sheer audacity. This film isn't just provocative for shock's sake. It challenges anyone who thinks they've seen everything. The villains are larger than life, the tension is unrelenting, and beneath the horror pulses a twisted, dark sense of humor that keeps the madness just barely tethered. Over time, Ilsa evolved beyond being just another exploitation flick. It became a full-blown cult legend. It's still whispered about in underground circles, remains banned in some regions, and continues to shock and disturb new viewers whenever it resurfaces. Curious about just how far French exploitation cinema can really go? Ilsa, the Wicked Warden, is where that wild, fearless journey begins, and it's not for the faint of heart. Limoralite, 1978. If you think you've seen controversy, wait until you hear the legend of Limoralite, a film so taboo that even seasoned exploitation fans were left stunned. The story revolves around two outsiders, a runaway child and an adult with unclear intentions, who cross paths in the remote French countryside and form a twisted alliance that enraged audiences and censors alike. French authorities were horrified. The movie vanished almost as quickly as it appeared, surviving only through rare bootleg copies that collectors traded to see if it lived up to its shocking reputation. What sets Limoralite apart isn't just its provocative subject matter, but the fearless way it dives headfirst into discomfort. There's no sugarcoating or softening the blow here. The film's haunting atmosphere, bleak landscapes, and sparse dialogue create a claustrophobic, unnerving experience that grips you from start to finish. Viewers were divided. Some praised it as art, while others branded it unforgivable. Regardless, it quickly became a whispered legend, a challenge reserved for the truly fearless. Though Limoralite disappeared from mainstream theaters, it never truly vanished. It lived on through midnight screenings and collectors' shelves, becoming a dark gem of forbidden cinema. Even now, it is discussed in hushed tones, with ongoing debates about whether it is a misunderstood masterpiece or simply a film that crossed too many lines. One thing remains clear. Limoralite forced French censors to confront uncomfortable questions they weren't ready to answer, setting a new standard for what it meant to shock the establishment and pushing French cinema into daring new territory. La Nui de Tra, The Night of the Hunted, 1980. Jean Rollin was no stranger to controversy, but with La Nui de Tra, he took things to a whole new level. Set in a mysterious, dreamlike clinic, the film follows patients suffering from memory loss and creeping paranoia as their grasp on reality slips away with every passing moment. The sterile, almost clinical halls hide a growing sense of dread that permeates the entire film. Rollin's signature mix of eerie visuals, haunting atmosphere, and unexpected twists keeps viewers on edge, questioning what's real and what's a nightmare until the very end. When censors finally reviewed La Nui de Tra, they found themselves unsure how to categorize it. Was it a psychological thriller, a horror movie, or something stranger, defying easy labels? What they did know is that it contained scenes that pushed far beyond the boundaries most films dared to cross at the time. To appease regulators, several releases were heavily trimmed, making the full uncut version a rare treasure sought after by dedicated fans of the genre. These unedited prints became highly prized for their deeper dive into Rollin's unsettling vision. What truly sets La Nui de Tra apart isn't just the story or the plot twists, but the way it embeds itself under your skin. This film isn't about gore or shock. It's about creating a slow-burning, relentless atmosphere of unease that lingers long after the credits roll. It plays with themes of identity, sanity, and the fragility of the human mind, drawing viewers into a psychological maze with no easy exit. La Nui de Tra is a striking example of how French exploitation cinema could terrify not with flashy effects, but through mood, tone, and atmosphere, proving that sometimes the most haunting horrors are the ones that live in your mind. Marquee, 1989. When it comes to the downright bizarre, Marquee stands in a league of its own. Picture the infamous Marquis de Sade reimagined not as a man, but as an animal-headed puppet trapped in a surreal, nightmarish prison. That's just the starting point. This film is a wild fever dream, blending absurdist humor, sharp political satire, and historical parody into a strange cocktail that still sparks debate decades after its release. French censors were utterly baffled. How do you classify a movie that mixes claymation puppets with taboo-breaking scenes and biting social commentary? The honest answer is you don't. Marquee avoided mainstream release for years, becoming a cult treasure shown only in select theaters and traded among fans who embraced its fearless, chaotic spirit. What makes Marquee truly unforgettable isn't just its bizarre visuals or inventive puppetry, it's the attitude behind it all. The filmmakers threw the rulebook out the window, creating a world where nothing is sacred and every taboo is fair game for mockery. It's part art film, part exploitation, and pure spectacle. Wildness pulses through every frame, daring audiences either to keep up or walk away. Even now, Marquee is a badge of honor for cinephiles who want to see just how far French cinema can push the limits when left unchecked. Think you've seen it all? Marquee will shatter that confidence in the first 10 minutes. It's a wild, unforgettable ride that challenges what a movie can be and tests just how much you're willing to watch. Salo, or The 120 Days of Sodom, 1975. Salo is a film that demands a warning before the credits even start. Born from a French-Italian collaboration, it quickly gained a reputation as one of the most controversial art house movies ever created. Drawing inspiration from the notorious Marquis de Sade, the story unfolds in a remote estate where a group of powerful figures impose terror and cruelty, each scene pushing boundaries further and further. The film's unflinching look at the darkest extremes of control left audiences shocked and censors scrambling for answers. French authorities were caught off guard, unsure whether to ban, censor, or debate the film endlessly. It faced delays, heavy editing demands, and was nearly banned outright. Critics were divided. Some called it an essential confrontation with the nature of power. Others labeled it a cinematic crime scene. Even decades later, Salo remains forbidden in many countries, with screenings often limited to strict age groups or outright prohibited. What makes Salo truly unforgettable isn't just its raw content, but its cold, unyielding style. The director keeps the camera locked steady, refusing to look away or soften the blows. This relentless gaze forces viewers to endure every uncomfortable moment without escape. The film doesn't offer relief or distraction. It confronts you head-on, leaving a lasting impact long after the credits finish. Watching Salo is a test of endurance, a harsh statement on what happens when authority runs unchecked. It's not a film for casual viewing, but for those curious where the boundary between art and outrage lies, Salo stands as the ultimate challenge. Amasur, Fat Girl, 2001. If you're searching for a film that had both critics and censors clashing for years, Amasur is it, no question. Directed by Catherine Breillat, this is no ordinary coming-of-age drama. Instead of wrapping adolescence in a soft glow, Breillat rips off the filter and lets the chaos, confusion, and discomfort spill out in full force. The film focuses on two sisters, one shy and overlooked, the other bold and adventurous, spending a summer together and discovering just how complicated growing up can be. But this isn't a story about easy lessons or happy endings. Every interaction is loaded with tension, every decision comes with consequences, and innocence is something that gets redefined, scene by scene. From the minute Amasur hit screens, the firestorm began. French censors were thrown into a frenzy by the film's refusal to turn away from the harsh, messy realities of youth. The ending, in particular, sparked heated debates everywhere, with many claiming it was simply too much for any audience. Talk shows, newspapers, and critics couldn't stop arguing. Was it too raw, or just honest in a way people weren't ready for? Even in today's climate, where films regularly push boundaries, Breillat's work stands out for its willingness to tackle uncomfortable truths head-on. But at its core, what makes Amasur such a landmark is its honesty. Breillat refuses to give viewers comfort or distance. Instead, she puts the awkwardness and pain of growing up right in the spotlight, unfiltered. That's what made the film a lightning rod, and why, years later, people are still talking about it. This isn't just a movie, it's a challenge to everything you expect from coming-of-age stories, and it earned its place as a pivotal moment in French cinema. French exploitation films didn't just push boundaries, they obliterated them, forcing censors, critics, and audiences to rethink what cinema could be. From shocking horrors to wild rebellions, these 12 films dared to shock, challenge, and redefine art itself. Which one shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit subscribe for more deep dives, and get ready because the wild side of cinema is just getting started.